Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really big idea, one that secretly shapes, well, pretty much everything, from huge political deals to where you buy your morning coffee. We're talking about game theory.
But instead of kicking off with some boring academic definition, let's just jump right into the action. We're going to start with a super high-stakes decision from a real TV game show called Golden Balls.
Okay, so I want you to really put yourself in this situation. You and a partner, someone you barely know, have just won $100,000. Huge, right? But here's the catch. You each have to secretly choose one of two options. You can either split the money or you can steal it. And what you choose, well, that changes everything.
Okay, so let's break down the outcomes here, because this is where it gets really interesting. Look, if you both choose split, it's great. You both walk away with 50 grand. Easy. But what if you choose to split and your partner decides to steal? Well, you get zero and they walk away with the whole pot. On the flip side, if you steal and they split, you get the full 100K. But, and this is the big one, if you both decide to steal, you both get nothing. Zilch. So, what's your move?
So that whole tense situation, that's a perfect example of what's called a game in game theory. It's basically any situation where what's best for you depends entirely on what someone else decides to do. And the cool thing is, we can actually break down any strategic decision like this using a really simple framework.
Right, so just to be super clear here, when we say game theory, we're not talking about Monopoly or chess. It's the formal study of these strategic situations, where your best move depends on someone else's move and, this is key, everyone is trying to get the best possible outcome for themselves. And believe it or not, you can boil down any of these games to just three core parts. First, you've got the players. In our game show example, that's Sarah and Steven. Then, you have the actions they can take. For them, it was simple, split or steal. And finally, you have the payoffs, what each player stands to gain or lose based on every possible combination of choices. That's it. That's the whole blueprint for analyzing pretty much any strategic interaction. Okay, so now that we have that basic blueprint, players, actions, payoffs, let's see how this thing actually shows up in the real world. And you'll see it's literally everywhere, from something as simple as where you get gas to massive global negotiations.
So here's a classic one. I bet you've noticed this. You're driving down the highway, your tank is getting low, and then bam, you see a gas station. And right next to it or across the street are two more. Why on earth do they all clump together like that?
I mean, at first glance, your gut tells you they should spread out, right? It just makes logical sense. You'd put one on the north side of town, one on the south side, and that way you both serve your own customers and split the market.
But then, one of the owners starts thinking strategically. They go, wait a minute, if I just inch a little closer to the middle, I still get all my customers. Plus, I can start poaching some of my competitors' customers who are closer to the center. And of course, the other owner is thinking the exact same thing.
So what happens? They both keep creeping toward the center, trying to get an edge, until they end up right next to each other. And at that point, neither one can improve their position by moving. It's a stable outcome. And that, my friends, is called a Nash equilibrium.
And you see this exact same strategic dance play out all the time in sports. Think about American football. Every single play call is a game theory problem in real time. The offense is weighing the odds. Should we run or should we pass? All while trying to guess what the defense is expecting. And on the other side of the ball, the defense is running the exact same mental math.
And this quote just nails it. It's not enough to just be good at something. The real game is knowing that the coach on the other side is smart. They know what you're good at. So you have to play a level above. You have to anticipate their anticipation and then use that to your advantage.
This same kind of thinking scales way, way up. I mean, all the way to the global stage. Think about countries negotiating big trade deals. They're the players. The actions are setting tariffs or creating trade agreements. And they're constantly trying to predict how other countries will respond to their moves, all in a high-stakes game to get the best possible economic payoff.
What's really wild is that game theory isn't just about analyzing situations that already exist. We can use it to design better systems. A perfect example is something called a Vickrey auction. It has this one brilliant little rule change. The highest bidder wins, but they only have to pay the price of the second highest bid. And that tiny tweak changes everything. It completely removes the guesswork. Your best possible strategy always is to just bid the absolute true value of what that item is worth to you. Pretty clever, huh?
Okay, so at this point, it's easy to think game theory is some kind of superpower, like a crystal ball for predicting the future, but let's pump the brakes for a second. We need a little reality check. As powerful as this tool is, it is definitely not magic.
This quote really gets to the core of it. Game theory is fantastic at modeling rational behavior. It shows us what a perfectly logical, self-interested player should do. But what it doesn't do, what it can't do, is actually cause people to be rational.
And why is that? Well, because the whole model is built on some pretty big assumptions. It assumes that all the players are perfectly rational, like robots. It assumes everyone knows all the rules and exactly what the payoffs are. But real people, we're messy. We can be irrational, we get emotional, and sometimes we care more about things like being fair or helping someone out, or even just getting revenge than we do about maximizing our own payoff.
So maybe a better way to think about it is this. Game theory is like a calculator. A calculator doesn't invent math, right? It's just a tool that lets you run the numbers on complex problems you couldn't possibly solve in your head. Game theory does the same thing, but for strategic decisions.
All right, so after all that, what's the big takeaway here? What's the one thing you should remember?
The big idea is that game theory is a mental model. It's a new lens for looking at the world. Once you have it, you start to see this hidden strategic fabric that connects all of our decisions together. It forces you to think a step ahead, to move beyond just asking, what should I do, and start asking, what will they do after they've thought about what I might do?
And that really leaves us with one final question to chew on. Think about your own life, negotiating your salary, figuring out where to go for dinner with friends, even deciding on your next career move. What games are you playing every single day, maybe without even realizing it?